Duane, could you explain to us how you set your life up around focusing on the is?
Okay, well, that's a decision. Again, we've come to the point where, we've been raised a particular way here where, it starts from childhood and most things carry through to where, uh, so much of your life has been decided by others. Oh, yeah, you make choices, but not really consciously. Your life is mainly directed by others, your parents, your teachers, the government, whatever, the television set. You see things on TV, etc., and your friends and what have you. And so, at a certain point, you decide every moment what your life is going to be. And when you wake up and realize that you can focus on this reality, you can figure it out how to do that. You have the capability to do it. It's not that it's just going to show up. You're given hints. That's the guidance. The guidance is just really hints, is what it is. And it's been taken for granted and overdone, you might say, in the way that people are thinking that things are going to be done for them. Like when you were with your mother, and she took care of you and she was always concerned about you, and you knew that too, and you even took advantage of that. You took that for granted, and you even had attitudes at times, didn't you? Yes, you see all these things. So with all that you've experienced, just even this lifetime, compare that. And again, I use the sun as an example. Compare that to the sun shining. Sun has no attitudes. It just shines. And when you can recognize what it's demonstrating and really see that, yeah, that's the first step. And so again, it's your decision every moment how you're going to do this, how you're going to see, how you're going to decide. And so the confusion, I would say, arises from that, okay, I'm supposed to decide something or think something. No. You can decide not to decide, you see? And so for me, I just basically reverse it. In other words, I already know what I know. All right, the personal self has experienced what it's experienced. So I stand in what I don't know, and that's everything. You see, that's way more than what I know. So most people, they like to show what they know, and that's fine. But really, what does that equal? What does that have to do with the true reality life? Yes, nothing. It's their own creation, but they like to show what they know and what's going on here in the world. Fine. But how does that relate to the isness? So it's a moment by moment thing. It's just very real. And this is where you decide to be now, every moment. To the personal self, this is going to seem really boring at first. It really is going to seem boring. And even the real universe seems boring to the personal self. That's your hurdle. You decide if you're going to get through that or not. You have to deal with yourself. We all do, because it's all about you and how you relate to this reality. But there's a lot more that you're not seeing. So that part, you got to go through the first part first to get to that part. And that's up to you how you get through that. That's where your 5 bodies come in. Very important how to see those. And yes, people, well, now you know about the is. But it doesn't mean you're even close to even seeing what it is. That becomes a real demonstration like nothing else. Yeah. And very few people will do that. Don't have the courage, just like we were talking about. Everybody looks to everybody else, and they're afraid to make a decision, Especially in the know-it-all government that we're dealing with here. These people are really afraid because there's always somebody looking over them. There's always somebody looking over them, and it's a daisy chain. And it's very interesting how things work and how it all comes around. So, yeah, it's a decision you make. And it's unlike anything that you've determined before. So that part you have to figure out, but you got to get through yourself first. And so sincerely recognizing what the sun is demonstrating is the first step. Can you do that? And getting through yourself and facing yourself and every attitude and every thought, whatever. Can you do that? See, life just got bigger. This is why most people, they will go back. They will go back to some system or idea or the children of light or something like that. It's all sweet and cute. And it's like children in a playroom just running around in circles in their diapers, giggling and having fun. That's what it's all about, isn't it? Well, life is a whole lot bigger, and this is where, again, you decide. The boys can't drag you there. I've seen people thinking that, oh, well, I want to leave here and I want to go to the 7th level. Well, they didn't get there. They're still lost in the astral worlds. And yeah, it's very real. Actually, you have a better advantage here right now than you do when you pass over, because you're going to have the same attitudes. And if you don't see it here, you're definitely not going to see it there. That's just how real it is. Yeah, the boys are there. They're always there. Life always is. But there's something else that's not seen. So again, the reality is that when you decide every moment to figure it out, moment by moment by moment, yes, and then that will express itself on the real side. Not necessarily it's going to be anything here. You might just be groveling beggar here, whatever. It doesn't matter. This is just a vehicle, like an old car you have. It doesn't really matter. You will see it on the real side. Yeah, you will see it because you will know it for yourself. And it's all about you. This is where the journey gets lonely. Yet you're with the whole of life and all the real guides that stand real. If you could stand real and recognize how to do that, that's a lot to do that. But it's your decision every moment. Nobody else is going to decide for you. All I'm doing with the writings is giving people hints. It takes a lot, like a college course to get your degree. It's a lot of studying to just get that little degree, to go through all that to learn what? To get to where? Where are you going, realistically? You decide your reality according to what life is, or you don't, or you decide it according to creation or what have you. Yes. There's way more to this than you can ever consider. So whatever you consider is something that you already know. And the reality of life is what you don't know. And guess what? You will never know it because it's endless. That's the best part of it. So again, this is where the seeing comes in. And what will you do? How will you step up? How will you prove yourself through all this? What will you do? So there's many things to it, but you got to get through yourself first. And you have to decide that you're going to stand real in the moment and recognize this reality and demonstrate it. That's a whole lot. You see, that's why most people still stay in the corporation and all these other things. Because they can think whatever they want, their personal life, they can keep it in place, etc. But what they don't see is that they're just, pushing themselves into future lifetimes. Yeah, the nowness, the now is talked about, and all life is now, here and now, and all that. Paul said that, but that's not really demonstrated or lived or considered. This is where you really have to do it. So to me, I love it. It's my love affair. It's so cool once you start to recognize it and see how it really is. But it's not anything you can consider. And this is what's interesting about it. So, but getting through that personal self first and deciding, and this is where the comparisons come in. You start comparing. You learn how to do that. You set that up, just like anything, just something like on automatic, just like your computer. You set it into certain modes or time factors or when it's going to go to sleep. You set those routines up. You decide to do that. You decide how to set up your life and how you want it to be the real you. and eventually the little self will follow. But you determine that. You decide how that will be. And that's the fun part. Yes. Your real freedom is in recognizing and standing real in the nowness, not just knowing it. Oh, gee, I read this, now I know it. No, that's in the literal sense. Again, that's like saying, well, I know that there are cars in the world. But do you have a car? Do you know how to drive a car? And when you can drive that car, why are you driving it? Is it just a thrill to drive it? Is that it? Or is there a purpose or a real purpose behind it? See, when you get into the real purpose, what is your purpose for being here? What is your real purpose according to what life is? Yeah, see, that's where this little self comes in, and it's questionable, you know, to stand aside from that personal self. Boy, that's a toughie, because that personal self is very important. But you decide. Life is not going to decide. Life does not decide anything for us. Life is, and we earn our way to allow it to support us. See? It's not about begging or wanting. You have to prove yourself, and then it will support you when you align yourself with what it is. This isn't it? So, there's a hint. Yes, thank you for asking, Henry.
Hi, Duane. I was wondering if you could give us a little more insight on what you call the disinterested view.
Okay, is that from the Real Far Country? I don't remember what I wrote there, but is that what you're referring to, Eric?
Along the lines, I think the first lines are, it takes like an ordered mind, or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's just a way of saying things that, again, you decide where your interests are. Now, you know, as a person, you look at yourself as a person, and one of the things that I suggest that you really focus on and learn is to see how other people see, okay? Because that's going to help you see things better. Because we're really seeing is what we're doing. We're doing things, but realistically, we're seeing. And for those that pay attention. But, you know, most people don't pay attention. They don't see what's going on. They just think they know. There's a difference between thinking and seeing and recognizing. There's a difference between all of these. There's fine lines, and there's a lot to them. Being indifferent or disinterested, again, it's, you know, it's a choice. All of a sudden, this is where I see that for the personal self, I mean, just like in my construction business, kept myself busy, all right? When people aren't busy, they get bored. And then they just hang around, do funny things, make jokes, and everything's giggly, and, you know, just talk about funny things and giggle all the time. Yeah, that's what mainly people do. They hang out, they go out to dinner, they go to the beach, whatever. They're always giggling and laughing. It looks like, oh, gee, they're having a great time. Is that all there is to life, is having a great time? So is that your interest, okay, or is that not your interest? So for me, I see what people are doing. I see that we must, you might say, respect free will of others. That's very real because this is all they have. But for me, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in their good times. I'm only interested in what is real now, every single moment. And to me, that's just a whole lot better. But that's my view. So I become disinterested in what others consider to be something that has some kind of meaning or purpose. Doesn't interest me. I become disinterested. So you can kind of look at it that way, and it sounds cold, but yet when you you know, actually allow these ideas that you've come to know, you just kind of let them be, and they're really nothing, is what they are. You just keep holding them up. All of a sudden, at some point you can recognize what the whole of life is, because your awareness, when you just, just take a moment wherever you're at, especially it's a little more fun outside. You're just standing outside and you see the big sky. Just stop thinking. And by the very fact, just stop thinking and feeling. Just let everything kind of go. Just let it kind of be. You notice that you're aware. There's your real awareness. Not anything you have to look for. So you decide what your interests are. My interests are creating something, my adventure, and that relates to the is. Because again, this is my love affair. So it's just like two people together, or especially a woman and the children and the child or children. That is something very special. And so the mother is always preparing something for the children as she's raising them. And so for me, I see this like that. I see the is like a child. And that it really, in a way, you can say it needs support, just like the real guys. And this is what is not understood. You're thinking that, oh, they don't need support. Actually, they do. Just like us. They need support too. It becomes a reality. And so I become disinterested in those things that have no value according to the true reality life is. But I see them, but I don't have an interest there anymore. You see? So I become indifferent to them. I decide that. You must decide everything. Okay? Or you want to hang on to it? Fine, go ahead. But I see it. I acknowledge it. And you might say, I respect the free will of others and what they decide, but I don't want anything to do with it. I see something else that I am interested in, and I see that I've decided my real purpose, and that's to stand real with the is and everything with it, because it's endless. And like the sun shining, and more so than that, I don't need these 5 bodies to rely upon anymore. I have to deal with them. I'll deal with them. But eventually they'll just disappear. I already see that. I've already decided that. I don't need them. Because I can be the real me in a pure body, etc. So again, you become disinterested. But that's a choice. It's not going to happen. It's a choice. Just like where you live or what you do. You all of a sudden, you don't have an interest to, what you've done before, or you do. You want to keep it up, or you decide something else. This is why I create the projects, because in the physical sense, as you look at the world, it's very real. Most of the world is very bored. They just create anything, any kind of nonsense, or this is the business world. People have been seduced to take part in the business world. In the business world, is controlled by the destroyers, and they're destroying the world. It's that simple. It's not rocket science. And yes, we have to deal with it because we're here, and we've agreed to it. I step up. I face that. I'm fine with it. I'll stay here as long as it takes to do something real. Whatever it is, I will do it. And at the same time, support the real guides and the is by the very fact that I've decided to do so. And yeah, the world is not going to really see this, and hardly anybody else will either. It's not something you see. It's like love between two people. You don't see love. Can you prove it? Can't prove it. Can't see it. Yeah, can't even see your emotions, your thoughts or whatever. You can on other levels. You can see the end result of those. And so everything shows up. But again, very interesting how this works and the process. And what we've come to know is a reference, but it doesn't make for a reality. None of it. None of what you've come to know and experience to this very moment. No, it doesn't. So you decide. Now that you know about the is, how will you figure this out? That becomes the real challenge. And if you don't, then you'll be in the same spot you've always been for lifetime after lifetime. So that's how real it gets. So this is why it's easier for most people to go to a belief system, which the reptilians created. They created all these ideas. people chasing ideas, beliefs, gods, saviors, faith, hope, all these things. These are ideas. These are ideas created out of the imagination and the mind of people, and then they usually lock onto them with their emotions that seem to make it more real because you have a feeling for it. You see, that's how people express things. Oh, I feel this way, or I have a gut feeling, or whatever. They never talk about their intuition. Oh, I intuitively see this. Do people ever say that? No, they don't. No, it's all about feeling, isn't it? Oh, I feel good about this. Oh, it's about feeling good, is it? Okay. And that's your physical astral body, and that's where you are. See? You decide that every moment, and as you make those conscious and mainly unconscious statements, that's where you stuck yourself. And if you're fine with that, that's where it is, because that's where you are. And most people want to feel comfortable with everybody else so that everybody's doing the same thing, and guess what? Everybody's going over the falls just as they were before. Very real, because they keep agreeing to it. So does indifference make sense? Look at the sun shining. Is the sun indifferent to the world? It has seen everything that has taken place here. Very real. See it from the sun. Look at this awesome view that it has, just of this world, whatever. Is there caring there? Is there belief? Is there like, dislike, happiness? Any of these things? No. It's indifferent. And because it's indifferent, it's so real. And when you can recognize what it's demonstrating, that's the best part. You're on your way. That's the first step. And then to go further. See, this is kind of like what Paul talked about when you first, step across the border, you might say, the deep, dark border. And then you first encounter the real universes. And then from there, you decide if you're going to explore to recognize the is. You're not there yet. And that's what's known as self-realization. That's the old idea. And now it's pretty lame because it's really mostly astral and unconscious, etheric level, etc. It doesn't matter. It's all in creation. It's a better position, but it's still not your real awareness. And then the old term was God realization, but we're not dealing with gods because those are ideas anymore. So it's not about the idea thing. It is where there is no ideas. This is the isness. And so you decide your adventure. You decide how to see this and then perceive it. And that's, like I've said, to truly perceive it. And that will be demonstrated through you by what you do. So in the meantime, just like when I went through the corporation, Paul set the pace. I did what was at the time, just like you're in the military. You're a soldier, you're an officer, you do what the military does. And eventually someday, maybe you'll become like James Bond, where you're beyond the military and you are that secret agent, you see? And you know what to do more so than you ever did in the military and anybody else, yeah. But how many can do that? How many can step up and have the courage to do that and do it all the way and be real with it every moment? So, yes, the sun demonstrates also that indifference, Eric. Very real. The sun shining and the appearance of the sun and what it's demonstrating, that's huge. Who can see it? Who pays attention to it? Most people just think, oh, it's a nice day. In Southern California here, we really don't think about the weather too much because it's like, it's about the same every day. Where Ava is, all they do is talk about the weather because it changes all the time. To me, it doesn't matter what the weather is. I like the rain, I like the shine. It doesn't matter. It's not about the weather. I only focus on the isness. And it's fun. It's great to have the sun there. We're fortunate. You really have to look at where you're at. You look at the other planets. You were there. You could be there. You could be a Martian underground right now, etc. It's very real. You could be a reptilian on another dark planet somewhere with no sun, darkness and cold, etc. You made choices to get here. And so now things are happening on this planet. You can make choices to do something real. This is where you prove yourself. How many people will step up and do that? 100%. So, yeah, the indifference is displayed. It's very real. It's very essential. And it's even more so than that with the whole of life. This is where you have free will. And the isness is indifferent to you until you figure out how it is and to where you support it and it supports you. Yes, but it is indifferent to all of creation, even though it supports creation. But it still allows each person their free will every single moment, whatever they decide. It does not interfere. Okay, there you go.